Lovely stuff. So welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon or good evening, depending on where in the world you're watching us from. My name is Paul Shepherd and I'm an enablement consultant here at Clevertouch. Thank you very much for joining us today, where we're going to talk about the interactive emails feature within Marketing Cloud engagement, or most people still call it Marketing Cloud. As I mentioned earlier, for those of you that are just joining as well, on the left-hand side of your screen in butter is where you've kind of got the engagement tools. There's a chat feature there, standard chat room, so feel free to drop any questions in as you go along and use the reactions as freely as you like as well as we go through the content. Just going to start our screen share. As I always say, sometimes people run into issues with the screen share. If anyone can't see the screen or anything like that, just let us know in the chat and I can restart it. But hopefully everyone can now see our lovely presentation. So for those of you who are not familiar with us, we are Clevertouch, one of Europe's leading MarTech consultancies. We're a team of about 70 people based just outside Winchester in the south of the UK. We were founded in 2009 by marketers for marketers, and we really do live and breathe MarTech. One of our kind of primary goals is to help people not just make sense of, but also really love their MarTech. If you are familiar with the concept of the MarTech spine, I know it's kind of gone out there. There's a lot of people that write about it now. We were the creators of that philosophy. And we are also the authors of the State of MarTech report, which is an annual report that we do backed by research from the University of Southampton. It is currently the only MarTech research conducted in conjunction with an academic body. So we just like to give that extra kind of gravitas and reliability to what we put into the space. This year's version is now available on our website, clever-touch.com, where you should be able to find this year's report. Loads and loads of really interesting insights about how the overall market is seeing MarTech and how other people feel about the tools they've got, as well as picking out kind of market trends. So if you are interested, it's a really, really good report. Loads of effort goes into it, so please do head over there to check it out. In terms of Marketing Cloud, we have over 70 Marketing Cloud certifications in the platform, 4 of which are held by this man to my right, who I'll properly introduce in a moment. And we have been a Salesforce partner since 2010. So we've got a really long-running partnership, really strong partnership with Salesforce. We've done a lot of delivery across these platforms. But enough about Clevertouch. Let's talk about us. So as I mentioned at the top of the show, my name is Paul Shepherd. I'm an enablement consultant here. So my whole job is spending time with lovely clients and getting them to really build confidence and skills to make their MarTech part of their everyday. I am certified on this platform to a developer level, but I am blown out of the water by this man here. So this is Sam Woodley. He is one of our solutions architects here at Clevertouch. If you've ever been one of our clients that uses Marketing Cloud, I'm sure you know and love Sam. He's a bit of a local legend, and he's been working on some of our biggest Marketing Cloud clients for the last 5 years. A little bit of love there. Yeah. So Sam is 4 times certified on this platform, knows it very well, and is going to take you through this tool in a little bit. So in terms of a bit of an agenda for our half hour together here, you're going to have to deal with me for a little bit longer. I'm going to take you through a little bit of an introduction here to what this tool is, talk about what it's used for and what we can do. I'll also mention a few little caveats and limitations. Annoyingly, there are still a few things we have to be aware of when we use really cool tools like this. I will then hand over to Sam, who's going to do a nice hands-on demo, show you how this really works in the platform. And then we will finish with a Q&A at the end. Unfortunately, just because of the way we're running the webinars, you won't be able to unmute to ask us questions. So any questions you do have, please pop them in the chat and we can circle back to them at the end, or you can ask them at the time. So without further ado, let's get into this a little bit. So interactive emails, this is not just a buzzword. This is actually a specific feature that exists within Marketing Cloud that is designed to boost interaction with your marketing and data collection forms. The idea behind it is that it removes that need to click through to a separate landing page, and we can actually build our data collection forms directly in the emails, and we can allow people to fill out that information right there in their inbox. So by removing that click-through step to a landing page, in this age of security, people are more aware now than ever of the links they're clicking on. If we can remove the need to click the link, higher level of trust and much more convenience for the person. They pop the information in on the inbox, and then we can feed it straight into our platform. So we're minimizing effort for the clients and the customers, which hopefully maximizes the input. Anecdotally, some clients that have put this in place have seen a doubling in their response rates to certain data. I can't promise it will be the same for everyone, but those are the kind of returns people are seeing. So if you are struggling, you're not quite getting the response rates you'd like, even if it's kind of leaving reviews, you can increase them using these kind of tools. There's quite a broad range of use cases that people are using this for at the moment. One is kind of progressive profiling. So it might be when you've got a customer, you might have a small amount of information about them. We could send them an email with a form directly in it that would help us build out a more rounded picture of who that person is. Now, that could be simple things like the country they live in that we maybe haven't collected before. Srikar, yes, you will be getting a recording of this delivered to your emails. So it could be simple things, but we can also build up much wider profiles of these people. So we could start asking them kind of what their hobbies are, what their interests are, and being able to build up a broader picture by asking them for it in a really convenient way without needing to get them to buy things or engage with things to actually figure that out. We can also get people to leave reviews. There's a really nice pre-built module that we can put within our forms that allows people to leave reviews out of like 5 stars, which is really cool. There's some nice use cases around pre-event data collection as well. So some people are, if they're running events, if you fill out one of their forms to register, the autoresponder that arrives in your inbox, it confirms you've registered, but it also asks you to flag anything at the event you're particularly interested in. Obviously, what that means is if there are salespeople at the events, they know who's arriving and what they're interested in, so they can have the right conversations right from the start. And then finally, we also see this a lot, people doing service forms and feedback. We've delivered a service, we want some feedback on how we did. We can put that directly into the email, nice, easy feedback. And one of the real powerful things about this feature is that these forms that they're completing in their emails, all that data feeds directly into our Marketing Cloud data extensions. For those of you that aren't always in the platform in Marketing Cloud and maybe aren't super familiar with that, a data extension is just a table of data. And essentially, we can use that to kick on onward journeys and automations. So by collecting data this way, we're still leaving ourselves with all the automation tools that Marketing Cloud has to offer. So it's a really good, convenient first step to really go on to bigger and better things afterwards. Unfortunately, interactive email at the moment is only available in Marketing Cloud Pro editions and above. So if you are on the basic package at the moment, this is not available to those editions. And probably the biggest limitation at the moment is that there are only a few supported email clients at this moment. Okay, so if people view, and bear in mind, this is the device client they're looking at it on, not their actual email address. But if we are looking at it on Apple iPhone, iPad, or Apple Mail, so the default Apple Mail app on Apple devices, it will work on those. It will work on the Gmail web app or Gmail app, the Yahoo webmail or AOL webmail. Unfortunately, at the moment, this feature doesn't work in Outlook, which obviously for those of you that are a bit more B2B focused, a lot of businesses use Outlook-based emails. And for those people, it won't quite work. Later in this session, we'll talk about how you can build a workaround for those people. But looking slightly longer term, the good news is that Outlook are changing the way that they render emails from about 2026. So this feature is likely to see an explosion in popularity from that point onwards. So I know we're about a year or so out from that, but this is really going to take off when Outlook starts supporting it. So it's good to get ahead of the curve now. So just be aware of those when you are planning, watching this content. You know, it's not quite an all-encompassing tool at the moment. So if we were going to build an interactive email in our platform, we need 3 things. First of all, we need a data extension. As I mentioned earlier, that's essentially a table of data. It's basically an end location for all this data we collect. So when people fill out the forms, we want them to post their data directly in there. We need to define that end location before we start. We also need an interactive email page. which is basically going to act as a success location. So when people do fill out our form, we just want to give them confirmation that that has gone through successfully. And we also need what's called an interactive email form block, which we create in Content Builder. And Sam is going to take you through creating in a moment. Just give me 1 second, Sam, because I think our lights are flickering on the recording. And I would like to fix that quickly before we start. Oh, there's a look behind the curtain for you all. Just close that quickly. So I was just seeing the screen and it looked like it was flickering slightly. So hopefully we fixed it there. Cool. So as I say, yeah, Sam, please take us through it.
So I'm going to quickly go over the prerequisites. I'm going to jump into an email and actually show you how to build one. So as Paul just mentioned, one of the first things you need to do is build a cloud page. And it's not an ordinary cloud page. So you'd go to your cloud page tab, and in the top right where it says add content, you would go to interactive email page. Now I've already created one prior to this demo, but I'll just show you how to create one here. So if you give it a name, and you'll be given a blank cloud page with a gray block right to the center, and that's what defines a interactive email page. So you'll see this, it's quite a plain page, and then here you get the option to select what happens when someone does successfully submit the email. So you get the no content, a content block, or redirect to URL. So I'll quickly show you the one that I've already created just to give a bit more context. So here's a bit more styling to it. And if I hover over that same block, I've got it set to a content block already. So when someone does land on this page, they'll be greeted with a thank you message. So that's the cloud page. For the answers data extension, so it sort of depends what you want to do with this data, whether you want to inject them into a journey or just hold the answers. But for this particular demo, I've got a subscriber key, first name, email address. So say if I wanted to inject them into a journey, these are the core fields that I'll need for personalization and just sending the email. And then for the actual form itself, I'm going to be asking what platform they're on. So I've got the current platform field here. And then these three last fields, these are more recommendations. So I'm going to show you the submission date options that you have. So you can either pre-populate it with a hidden field using AMP script, which is my recommendation, or you can use the out of the box current date as a default value, but that does use the UTC time, seeing as Marketing Cloud's servers are in the US. So I would recommend using the AMP script approach, and I'll show you that in a second. And then submitted through, again, this is more of a recommendation where, say, if you did have some fallback content and directing them to a cloud page, here you can hard code the value within the email to say they've actually filled out this form from the email, and then on the cloud page, you'd say cloud page. And that way you can just measure, I suppose, which one did the best. So for the email, so I'm going to use an email that's pretty familiar with most of you, where you got sent to ask to register. And we're basically going to revamp this to an interactive email. So this register here button here, so we're going to remove this. And instead, on the left-hand side, you'll see an email form draggable section here. So we're going to drag that on. And here you get a few different templates, just sort of give you a bit of an idea of the different field types you can use. So say if you wanted to collect a review, maybe you wanted a 5-star rating, as well as some text fields, progressive profiling, maybe a case form or a lead form. But for this demo, we're going to go with just an empty. We're going to start from scratch. So on the left-hand side, you'll see the two prerequisites being asked for here. So we've got the cloud page that I've created previously, so I'll add that in. And the response capture is the answers data extension. Now, you can create a data extension from this page here, but the caveat is the fact that you can't, when you're creating the fields, you can't select the type. You can only create text fields. So things like submission date, you'd have to then go into Content Builder and create a field especially for that. So I'd always recommend creating that data extension first, just so you've got full visibility of all the fields that you want to create and the right types. So I will select the data extension I've just showed you. If you scroll slightly down, we've got visible fields and hidden fields. So for the visible fields, I'm going to start with just a text field. And then we're going to ask, what platform are you currently using? And then when you click the data attributes, it will pull in all those fields from that data extension. that you have. Now, it does separate the required attributes and optional attributes. If you do submit, or if you don't add the required attribute to the form and they hit submit, it won't say that it's errored at all, but it won't be added to the answers data extension. So be wary of that you tick all these required attributes off. So for this field, I want the current platform field. And then you get a chance to set it to required, so they won't be able to submit without giving an answer, a description, maybe a placeholder text, pre-populated values, and whether you want a short or paragraph answer. But for example, I'm actually going to change this to a select. You don't really want to be giving free rein when you're asking these sort of questions, seeing as a few platforms like Pardot are called different things by different people. So we're going to actually remove this one. And we're going to add the same thing again, but instead hit select. So these are all the options you do get. And when you hover over each one, it will give you a bit of an example of how that works. So I'm going to click select, put the same input label, and then use the same data attribute. Then for this particular field type, we've got add options. So you can have a different value being shown to what gets populated within the data extension. So if you did have quite a lengthy option label, it might be worth actually condensing that down into maybe just a single word or a number or something.
Can we use that for translating as well?
Yeah, you could definitely use that for translation if you wanted to. And then I'll just end with other. Cool. And then when you do selects, I would also recommend with a placeholder text, maybe just giving a bit of instruction. So I'll just do select like that. So that's it for the visible fields. So for the hidden fields, this is where it can get really powerful. So like I said, you always want to tick off the required attributes. So subscriber key is one of them. And you do get the option, if you can see that little person's head right there, this allows you to use Marketing Cloud's personalization strings. And these are system generated tokens that you can use. So subscriber key is one of them. So I'll save that. And then you'll notice when I go and create more, it will actually remove the ones that I've already selected, just so it sort of visually shows you actually which fields you've got left to populate. So email address is another one. We can use the personalization strings again. Then for first name, so the sending data extension has first name in there. So you actually can use the values from that data extension. So use first name there. Then for submitted through, like I said, I recommend using this as a way to sort of measure how many submits were through the email or maybe a cloud page. So you can hard code that to email. And then for the last one, like I mentioned before with the submission date. So you could go down the route of having a default value of today's date, but like I said, it's going to use UTC time. So say if you wanted to see actually when people were submitting, you'd have to do that conversion yourself. But there is a nice little AMP script function. And I can paste this in the chat after this, where it's system local date using today's, well, the now function. And that will then give you the UK time. So I'll do that for the submission date. So that's all the fields. And you can also design it a bit so you can change some of the styling. For the submit button, submit isn't really suitable, so I'd probably change this to register. Cool. So I'm going to send a test to myself, and you'll see how that comes across in our email client. And whilst we wait for that just to go through, so I have also created another email that's just demonstrating a few more field types. So here we've got the same question, but a single select box of what platform they're using. Also, how would they rate their current platform out of 5 stars? And you can actually, for the stars, have as many as you want. So you could have 3 or 10. You just keep adding them as options, and they just come through as numbers on the answers table. And then I've also got a radio select as well, just asking how many users they've currently got using their platform. So that would then come across in our emails like this. And you can then select single options here, Marketing Cloud, 5 stars, of course. and then maybe 20 to 50. When you press register, you'd go to that success page and it'd say, thank you for registering. And then your answers would be added to that answers data extension instantly. So for the other one that we've just created, we've got the email here. We can drop this down. That's the Marketing Cloud. Register again. Thank you. So in the answers data extension, go to records, refresh that. And there you go. Those are all the fields. So you can see the submission date, like I mentioned. The UTC, obviously I didn't submit this at 9 o'clock in the morning, but sort of coming onto this and just sort of seeing, actually, okay, right, they submitted at 4 o'clock. That makes a bit more sense. And then for the other one, the one that's a bit more full with questions, we've got submitted through email, rating 5 stars, user count. Notice that I've done a different storage value to what was displayed. You can't use hyphens with stored values, so I've just swapped that for 2. And yeah, that person is now ready to be injected into a journey to then maybe receive certain emails based on the platform that they've selected, or maybe even the user account as well. So that's the demo.
So that's a bit of a tour. So hopefully you guys can all see there that we've got a really useful feature here where we put things directly into the hands of our clients or customers or prospective clients, whoever it is we're trying to collect data from. We deliver it right to them and in the most convenient way possible. All they have to do is fill out the baseline information that we're asking, and we can pass the rest of it through in hidden fields. So we've completely minimized the level of effort for them, increased the convenience, and hopefully therefore increased the kind of response rate and the feedback we get. Now, that's a little bit blue sky because, as I mentioned at the start, there are a few caveats. Sometimes this doesn't work, and there are times when we look at an email client. So if we are delivering it to Outlook and we know that that block isn't going to work. So I'm going to annoy Sam and ask Sam if he could quickly take us in to look at the fallback content and how we would deal with it if we were trying to deliver to someone who wasn't using one of our interactive enabled email clients.
Of course. So fortunately, it does it for you. So it will pick up whether it can be displayed or not. And if it can't, if you head over to the design tab, now there is a strange Marketing Cloud quirk.
Our favorite feature.
Yeah, that you may come across. So when you do select block from Content Builder and you hit browse, they're probably, when you select the block that you want, you might see a red box pop up, and I'll show you that in a second. So when it tries to save, it will basically say it can't save the asset. Oh no, it actually did work the first time that time. Amazing.
You try and demo it.
Basically, what this means is when it does come through Outlook, I've basically created a content block with the button that was originally there. And there is a nice little thing that's quite hidden. You can see the eye in the top right. If you hover over that, it will show you how that would appear in a client that can't process an interactive email. So, say if I send this to Outlook, they would receive this instead of that. There you go.
Yeah, so that's really nice. So we've got this great feature. We know it's only going to work in a relatively narrow range of email clients at the moment, and unfortunately, we don't have any real ability to influence that. But what we can do is we can create, what most people are doing at the moment, where we had the button. Let's create that button that links to our landing page as our fallback content, and that's kind of going to be our backup option for anyone who's using Outlook or an incompatible email client. They get the same experience they've always been having. They get a nice button that they click on, they can go and leave feedback. And we have to accept that until hopefully 2026, when Outlook change how this is all being built, we might have better chances. But at the moment, we accept that that's kind of the experience we've had anyway. But it shouldn't stop us being aspirational. Let's create these interactive email blocks, show them to all the people that can see them, and then we set up our fallback content here, and then that will display for the people that maybe couldn't see the original. So we're still covering all bases here. We're not leaving ourselves open to any embarrassing scenarios or anything like that. We can still cover the bases. And yeah, hopefully still make use of a really cool feature. So thank you very much, Sam. We do send the slides around as well. So this is just really a summary of what we've just mentioned there about fallback content. The only bit that I really want to add to what we've said already, usually your fallback content is just a button that links to a landing page with your form on it. Sometimes it's not always that simple. We know that there are going to be times when you want to be sending like autoresponders or automatic follow-up emails off the back of it. You may be wanting to automate slightly more complicated logic. It is quite common when you're using these. If you do have a clear use case for an onward journey, it's quite common to have to use a little bit of AMP script, which is Marketing Cloud's proprietary programming language. Not everyone is going to learn a new programming language to fully replicate this feature on a page. So if you do ever have this clear use case and you're slightly struggling to replicate exactly what you're doing, please feel free to get in touch. This is what Sam does. This is what we do. We love building these kind of things. It's a great tool, but sometimes it just needs a little bit of help. And hopefully that's where it comes in. So I will wrap up our immediate content by saying thank you very much for your time. I know we're approaching our 4:30 cutoff. Any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat and we'll answer them in a moment. But I will leave our parting shot really from the content as if you do need any help with this, you've got any further questions, feel free to get in touch at training@clever-touch.com where we can follow up with you and get you the answers. Or if you're interested in any sort of Marketing Cloud training around this or just more broadly, whether it's for you as an individual or as a cohort, again, feel free to get in touch and we'll do what we can to help. We'll hang around for a couple of minutes for any questions. But if you don't have any questions, thank you very much for your time and feel free to drop off. Thank you. Okay. Any questions in the chat? Doesn't look like it. Lovely, right? You're off the hook. No questions. Thanks all. Have a lovely afternoon or rest.